A decade after Padma Shri winning chef, cookbook author, and the popular host of cooking shows Tarla Dalal died, comes a much-deserved biopic. Tarla was the ultimate chote package mein bada dhamaka. The petite lady with that signature bob was India's OG gastronomic guru. She wrote over 100 cookbooks which sold millions of copies, and she made us vegetarians look good. Her website has over 15,000 vegetarian recipes. Tarla's story is fascinating because the stratospheric culinary stardom wasn't planned. As the film tells it, Tarla always knew that she wanted to do something, but she was never sure of what that something was. Early in the film, there's this lovely scene in which as Tarla counts the candles on her wedding anniversary cake, she realizes how much time has passed and how her ambitions, she repeatedly says, "Mere ko life mein kuch karna hai," have been lost in the daily grind of home, children, and domesticity. It's the story of millions of women in this country. Tarla's incredible journey to become the queen of cooking begins inadvertently with a neighbor insisting that she teach her daughter cooking so that she can get married. From this modest start, Tarla builds an empire. Debutant director Piyush Gupta is at home with films that inspire. His credits as writer include Dangal and Chichore. Tarla's producers include Nitesh Tiwari, who directed Dangal, and Ashwini Iyer Tiwari, who directed Panga. Both films that focused on women who, like Tarla, are insistent कि life में कुछ करना है.
लाइफ में कुछ करना है. हाँ, अभी क्या करना है वो अभी मालूम नहीं है, but कुछ तो करना है.
So it's surprising that despite the match of rich material to relevant experience, this film rarely sparkles. Tarla, co-written by Piyush and Gautam Ved, remains well-intentioned but middling. The most memorable thread in Tarla is the relationship between Tarla and her husband Nalin, played with understated ease by Sharib Hashmi. The film might be named Tarla, but the screenplay gives Nalin more heft and space to grow. This is a man besotted with a woman who he has an arranged marriage with. He becomes her first taster, her publisher, her biggest cheerleader. He encourages her to soar. But as Tarla's star rises, Nalin comes to understand how difficult it is to actually walk the talk. There's a nicely written and staged scene in which he admits to Tarla that eventually he too is like any other typical husband. Sharib is terrific here, but Huma Qureshi doesn't strike these high notes. She's a wonderful actor. You might recall her superb turn as that deliciously wicked Monica Machado in Monica, Oh My Darling. But here she's saddled with a role that doesn't give her enough. To begin with, the false protruding teeth are distracting, but more importantly, the writing is superficial. In the second hour of the film, when the cracks in the marriage start to appear, we get a sense of the challenges Tarla faced and how close she came to giving it all up. But in the first hour of the film, it just plays out like this cheerful fairy tale with problems being solved as soon as they arise. Good food, Piyush suggests, is a cure for most things. But sadly, this is a food film in which there are very few shots of food and none that will make you salivate. Watching Tarla doesn't automatically make you hungry like watching The Lunchbox did. This film insists that food can subvert patriarchy. Tarla advises her young students to cook well and then use those brownie points to get permission to do what they really want to do. She says something like, "मुझे ये नहीं पता कि किचन जेल है कि नहीं, लेकिन खाना चाबी हो सकता है." So one of Tarla's students gets permission from her mother-in-law to take up a job because she can cook well. It's all just too easy. Intriguingly, there is a scene in this film which seems inspired by the life of Indra Nooyi, the former chairman and CEO of PepsiCo. In interviews, Indra has talked about the evening she came home from work, excited to share that she had been appointed the head of the global giant. But her mother, who was visiting with her in the US, refused to hear her good news and instead asked her to go out and get milk. She then told Indra, "You might be chairman outside the house, but inside you are a wife, mother and daughter first." Almost a replica of this scene transpires in the film with Tarla's mother telling her, "Jab ghar mein ghuse to patni hai, maa hai." It's also lovely to see Amarjeet Singh, the actor who stole the scene as the hapless plumber in Kapoor and Sons, on screen again. He features here as an ambitious raddiwala who helps Tarla sell her book. His presence put a smile on my face. Keep an eye out for a tiny but telling scene in which his subordinate is pleading with a customer to buy a book because the boss has given them targets. I wish Piyush had more such scenes of the comedy and angst of everyday middle class life and how one woman refused to be trapped by it. You can watch Tarla on ZEE5.